This is a small update, and I had to talk about this because I saw it come up in the news. And it's like the more we hear from the mother when she does this interview, the more we tend to kind of learn about the psychology and maybe kind of how this whole thing came about and how it happened. And it still proves that what I said about this story and about how this teacher ended up in this position, how this little boy ended up here, and how the mom should be held responsible for this. I think this story speaks volumes. So I wanted you guys to hear this interview. I'm getting this information from WRTKR.com. I think that's correct, but thank you for the article. Let me give you guys a disclaimer before we give you a small update and hear the interview from the mother of the little boy who shot the teacher. Real quick. We won't take too long. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. So, Newport News, Virginia. Deja Taylor, who's the mother of the 6-year-old boy who shot the teacher by the name of Abby Zwerner at Ricknett Elementary on January the 6th earlier this year. We've done, I think, maybe two or three videos on it so far. An exclusive interview that she gave with Good Morning America, which we're going to play that by way of fair use. We're using it in a transformative fashion, so please don't flag us. So hopefully they understand. She said he has ADHD. Some are able to have it at a very mild rate, Taylor told ABC's Lindsay Davis in the interview. The student was under a care plan at the school that required, let me say that again, it required, which is why they had the freaking rule to begin with, required his mother or father to be in class with him. Period. The week of the shooting was the first week his family did not attend class with him. He started medication and he was meeting his goals academically, Taylor said when asked why he was in class without a parent. Taylor said that her son actually really liked Zwerner but felt like he was being ignored. Taylor described an incident her son had with Zwerner, the teacher, that led him to be suspended. Zwerner had asked the student to sit down, according to Taylor, and he then threw his arms up and said, fine, and when he threw his arms up, he knocked her phone out of her hand accidentally. I hate when they say on accident. Accidentally, and he got suspended for that, but that was her word. She said on accident. Anyway, the grandfather of the 6-year-old said that the boy doesn't talk about the day of the shooting, just a day or two before. When asked about the gun used, the family's attorney, James Ellison, said nobody knows how he accessed the gun. When asked again, Ellison responded, we're not ready to discuss that at this point. I don't know that any adult knows how exactly he got the gun. Taylor said that as his parent, she accepts responsibility for his actions. That's my son, so I'm a parent. As a parent, obviously I'm willing to take responsibility for him because he can't take responsibility for himself. Fall on your sword. That's what you're supposed to do as a parent. Especially with something like this. Especially when it's your freaking gun. When asked if the family had anything to say to the teacher, Abby Zwerner, Taylor said they actually began forming a relationship due to her being in class with her son. I truly apologize. I truly would like to apologize. You know, out of the incident, she did get hurt, Taylor said. We were actually kind of forming like a relationship with me having to be in the classroom. She was really a bright person, Taylor said. Taylor's facing charges and notice. Oh, she did apologize. Okay, let me not say that. Taylor's facing charges of felony child neglect and recklessly leaving a firearm to endanger a child. If convicted, she faces up to 6 years in prison. I don't think she'll get that much time, but come on, man. She got to get something. What do y'all feel like is fair? The teacher survived. The teacher will be okay. Thank goodness for that. But how much time should she actually face in jail? I think we should vote on that. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to play a couple of interviews. I just want y'all to hear it from her mouth. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. If you guys would continue to support this story in these videos as we continue to bring you updates, hit that thumbs up, please, please, please. It'll share this video. More people can see it and come join in the comment section. We could talk about this where we continue to advocate for children first, okay? Here we go.
ABC News exclusive with the mother of the Virginia 6-year-old who shot his teacher. She's speaking out about it for the first time. Lindsay Davis sat down with her and joined us with that. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning to you, Michael. Exactly 1 month to the day, a Virginia grand jury indicted Deja Taylor, charging her with child neglect and failing to secure her gun. When I talked to the 25-year-old and her grandfather, who now has custody of her son, she said she wants people to know she's a good mom.
While school shootings in the U.S. are no longer a rarity, what happened at this Virginia elementary school in January was shocking. The shooter was only 6 years old. The victim, his 25-year-old teacher, Abigail Werner. Despite being shot, she managed to get all of her students to safety.
Female victim, she's been shot in the abdomen as well as a through and through into the hand.
Amid the ongoing criminal and civil cases, the family of the first grader who shot his teacher has remained quiet until now.
Does he talk about the incident?
No. He talks a lot more about the day before or the 2 days before than he does about January 6th.
Shortly after the shooting, the family released a statement saying, "Our son suffers from an acute disability and was under a care plan at the school that included his mother or father accompanying him to class every day. The week of the shooting was the first week when we were not in class with him."
So here's what you would have to ask. The care plan was put in there for a reason. And you said, screw the care plan. I think he's doing fine. The care plan was put in place for a reason. You ignored it, therefore you're neglectful. You left access to your gun and the bullets, and he knew what to do with them. You gotta pay for that. You gotta pay for that with jail time. You have to.
What can you tell us specifically about your son's disability?
So he has ADHD, or some are able to have it at a very mild rate, but he's off the wall, doesn't sit still, ever.
And why did the school decide that it was no longer necessary for the family to be in class?
He had started medication and he was meeting his goals academically.
Had your son ever spoken about hurting the teacher, or was there anything any angst that he had against her?
No, he actually really liked her. I will say that week he did come home and he was talking, a lot about how he felt like he was being ignored. So he would come home and, "Mom, I don't think that she was listening to me. I didn't like that." And then actually he ended up getting suspended the next day because he was in class. He was trying to tell her something. And she asked him to go sit back down. He threw his arms up, he said, "Fine." And when he threw his arms up, he knocked her phone out of her hand on accident. And he got suspended for that.
You're assuming that it was an accident. See how that works? He didn't mean to do that. How do you know? You could also say maybe he didn't mean to shoot her. But how do you know? When he grabbed possession of a weapon, clearly knows what a gun is, use it in a fashion that most people would use a gun against another human being would do. But he didn't know it was an accident. Just hard to believe that. I'm not here to rail against children. I'm just saying in this situation, this is what happened, and mom needs to pay for being a neglectful parent. Should have had your ass up there.
Werner did not respond to ABC News' request for comment, but in a lawsuit, she says the student slammed the cell phone on the ground so hard that it cracked and shattered.
That don't sound like an accident, like I said. And I haven't been wrong about this story so far.
She's now filed a $40 million lawsuit against the Newport News School District and Rich Neck Elementary officials, claiming they ignored multiple warnings about the student's behavior and concerns that he had a gun. According to the suit, the child had a history of random violence and that he attacked students and teachers alike, both in and out of school.
So he had a propensity for violence. Most people who have a propensity for violence are well aware that they are trying to hurt and damage someone.
Is that description accurate?
Whether it is or it isn't, the school enrolled him in September knowing all of the past behaviors.
I don't know what he's talking about. And I just personally believe that if you get an attorney that looks like he's on his last leg, like this man literally looks like an egg that's been left to sit out in the sun for too long. Like this man literally looks like he's like a couple of hours away from a coffin. I'm sorry, that is just a bad looking man. That is a bad looking attorney. I'm sorry, y'all. Jesus. That man has aged like shit. Like shit on a stick.
Now to an ABC News exclusive with the mother of the Virginia 6-year-old who shot his teacher. She is speaking out about it for the first time after a Virginia grand jury indicted and charged her with child neglect and failing to secure her son. Our Lindsay Davis spoke with that mom and her grandfather, who now has custody of the 6-year-old. She says she wants people to know she's a good mom.
While school shootings in the U.S. are no longer a rarity, what happened at this Virginia elementary school in January was shocking. The shooter was only 6 years old. The victim, his 25-year-old teacher, Abigail Zwerner. Despite being shot, she managed to get all of her students to safety.
Female victim, she's been shot in the abdomen as well as a through and through into the hand.
Amid the ongoing criminal and civil cases, the family of the first grader who shot his teacher has remained quiet until now.
Does he talk about the incident?
No. We talk, we play, we, do Uno, draw pictures, like nothing of the incident.
Deja Taylor says she was stunned on January 6th when she got a phone call that there had been a shooting at her child's school.
I wasn't even able to get dressed. I ran out in PJs to the school.
Has he processed the magnitude of what happened?
Well, in my opinion, he processes the events leading up to it. He talks a lot more about the day before or the 2 days before than he does about January 6th.
You released a statement shortly after the incident, and I just want to quote it. You said, "Our son suffers from an acute disability and was under a care plan at the school that included his mother or father attending school with him and accompanying him to class every day."
What's the point of having a care plan if you don't follow it? What's the point of you need to learn how to cook something, you have a recipe, and you're like, you know what? Rip, I'm not going to follow it. What's the point? What's the point of having MapQuest if you're just like, you know what? We don't need it. We don't need directions to get where we're trying to go across country. Just start driving. What's the point of having a plan? People don't value a plan, just like people don't value a plan of having children. They just think that the rules don't apply, ever, which is how we end up here.
The week of the shooting was the first week when we were not in class with him. What can you tell us specifically about your son's disability?
He has ADHD. Some are able to have it at a very mild rate, but he's off the wall, doesn't sit still. Come home and he was talking, a lot about how he felt like he was being ignored.
New School District and Rich Neck Elementary officials claiming they ignored multiple warnings about the student's behavior and concerns that he had a gun. According to the suit, the child had a history of random violence and that he attacked students and teachers alike, both in and out of school.
Is that description accurate?
Whether it is or it isn't, the school enrolled him in September knowing all of the past behaviors, and they also knew that he had not attended only about 2 months of kindergarten.
I'm sorry, that is a very bad looking, decrepit man. My goodness, I gotta stop the whole interview. I'm sorry. Y'all heard what we needed to hear. I would just make my eyeballs hurt looking at that man's face. But anyway, so as more of the revelation comes out with this story, and ultimately however much time they're going to end up having her serve behind this, because she's the parent and you chose to be neglectful in two different ways. One, leaving your gun unattended that he could get access to it, and the fact that you should have been in class with him, which is what you agreed to. And you're like, you know what? He's apparently no longer your problem. I'm going to drop him off at the school and y'all deal with it. How, like it's so sad that how many parents do that, where they're just like literally the school is just time for them to be away from their kids. It's not my responsibility. It's the teacher's responsibility at this point. That teacher deserves, every teacher deserves a lot of money, but she definitely deserves every dollar that she's asking for, and she deserves to never have to work again as a teacher. Mom, you got to pay up. You're going to have to pay in your time. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section. If you have any thoughts or opinions. From my heart to yours, I love you all, and we'll see you guys on the next story, all right? Thank you.